What's going on, pursuers? Welcome to The Pursuit of Calling, the podcast that provides you with the strategies and tools needed to successfully discover and pursue your calling. Whether it's through inspiring stories, thought-provoking interviews, or quick, insightful episodes on personal growth and development, we've got you covered. I'm your host, Thomas Carney. Enjoy the episode. Okay, guys, this is going to be a quick episode this week. As you can tell, I'm in a little bit of a better mood this week than I was last week. Last week I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling stuck. I wasn't sure. I had so many priorities and not sure which one was actually the top priority because they all seemed they're all important. All the priorities are important, and I just didn't know what to do, and that's kind of what I was talking about last week. But I want to say I'm doing a lot better. I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to thank you because I honestly believe they worked. This past week has felt much more manageable. If you're watching the video, you're watching me pull windows across the screen. I'm not looking at the camera, but so apologies. Let me adjust. Cool. And this past week has been a lot more manageable, and I want to share some of the things I've been doing to overcome that paralyzing feeling of having a million tasks, but not knowing where to start. I want this to be an encouragement. The biggest thing that helped me was prioritization. Now, I said I had so many tasks and so many priorities that weren't just tasks, but they were like projects. And the tasks within those projects are the things that I wanted to do and things I wanted to accomplish. And I didn't know what to do next. And I think I told you last week, and my friend Andrew and I talked, and he was talking about Bible study he was doing with the other staff members at Amplified Church. And they're talking about the analysis paralysis, or exactly what I was going through, being paralyzed by having too many priorities, by having too many things to do. And they're essentially what they came to the conclusion of was just do something and just start. So that's what I started with. I just did something, and even if it was the wrong thing, then I would find that out. But luckily, that wasn't true. I realized what my priorities were. My priority, I'm moving soon. The priority was getting things set up to move, asking people to help me move, figuring out how to get where I was going to get a washer and a dryer, because that was really important, and I got that figured out now. And all of those things. And today I was setting up utilities for whenever I move. All that stuff is really important. But the way I prioritize those things was through a to-do list system. I use an application called Todoist. You've heard me talk about it maybe on this podcast before. I love it because it allows me to break things out into separate projects and prioritize them using whatever method you want to use. But they you can flag them from P1 to P4, from priority 1 to priority 4. And that helps me be like, okay, I'm going to do this task tomorrow, because usually I like to prioritize the day before for the next day. And I'm going to do this tomorrow. This is maybe going to be done at this time. And this priority 1, that means there might be other things to do that day, but this is priority 1. This needs to be done first. Or this is the thing that absolutely needs done. And priority 3, maybe it's important, but could be, if it won't be the end of the world if it doesn't get done. Something, I know I'm talking fast. Like I said, it's going to be a quick episode. Honestly, there some unexpected things happened earlier in this day. And I'm just going to be recording this quick episode because I didn't have as much time to prepare. And that's life. However, now getting back to it, my therapist, Brittany, told me, because I was trying to plan out, I was getting overwhelmed because I wanted to plan out my weeks. And she said, if planning out your week seems overwhelming, just try a day or two. Just try to plan out the next day or the next 2 days and see how that goes. Because where I would get stuck is I would try to plan out a week, 2 weeks, a month ahead, and then I wouldn't be able to stick to that, and then I'd get overwhelmed. Or I'd get discouraged because I didn't stick to the plan. Because life happened, unexpected things would happen. So what I'm finding the easiest for me is to sit down the night before and plan out the next day or the next 2 days of the priorities of the things I want to get done. Recently, it has had a lot to do with moving, and actually less to do with the podcast or my business. But I'm actually been like even more motivated to get into my podcast and in my business because of my life actually having like a system, some systems to it, and like oh man, I'm remembering a quote right now. I think it's from James Clear. What is it? Oh, here we go. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That's a quote from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, which is one of my favorite books. I'm going to reread it, actually. I'm actually thinking now that I'm just thinking about it, that should be a book I reread at least once a year. But that's a book that's just talking about how to create habits, positive habits, in order to live that satisfactory life, to live a life, in my mind, living a life of peace and not of chaos. Because I like when in scripture, there's a verse that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. And where there's no, like, in my mind, that's like where there's no forward thought, where you're not thinking ahead and planning for the goals that you have set out and creating the habits and the systems in order to achieve those goals. Like, if you're not doing that, those goals are either not going to get achieved or going to become really hard to achieve. So my challenge to you is to think about the systems in your life, your priority, maybe in context of this episode, the prioritization systems of your life, of how do you prioritize the things that need to get done. Maybe you're not as much like me. I'm very systematic. I like doing the same thing. I like having the same systems every day. I wake up at the same time, go to bed. I try to go to bed at the same time. I read before I have a night routine, and I like to think that I would love to think that everybody worked exactly like me, but I'm not sure that's the case. I know everybody has habits and everybody has priorities. So whenever you're thinking about your priorities, whenever you're thinking about the things you need to get done from day to day, what is your system? Do you have a system? Or are you just trying to remember all the things that you need to get done? I've been there and it sucks. And you probably don't get everything done. So my challenge to you for this next week is to reassess your systems, figure out how you can best prioritize what needs to get done for the goals that you want to achieve, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. The whole point of this podcast is to essentially help you get from where you are to where you want to be, to help you achieve the goals, the vision that you have for your life. And having these systems, these prioritization habits, is an extreme part of that. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Pursuit of Calling podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and share it out on Spotify, share it out on Instagram, all the Instagram, Facebook, wherever you use social media, and give it a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. All right, guys, thank you for listening to this episode again. Keep pursuing your calling. I'll see you next time.